Today we're starting module number 6, and by the end of this module we're going to be ready for the midterm assignment. In this video I'm just going to show you though how to get the location of the mouse in your Pygame window. So what I've got here is a Python file, and I have imported Pygame and random and math just in case I need them. I'm not going to be using math or random right now, but I will be later, so I'm just getting ready for that. I've also got some colors here next. And then after that, I've got my surface that I'll be working with. My window is going to be 800 by 600. And I've just got these two variables so far. My done, which will let me get out of my while loop for running my game, and the clock so that I can set the frame rate, of course. And down here in my while loop, I am going to always do it in this order. I'm going to get my input, and then I'm going to do something with it or do the logic of the game. And then I'm going to draw things to the screen after that. Okay, so we're always going to be doing things in that order. So let's get right into it. How do we get the position of the mouse on our Pygame window? So here's our Pygame window. How do I get the position of where my mouse is on that window at any given moment? Now I'm going to consider this as an input. So I'm going to do that right here. And the way we get the mouse's position is pygame.mouse.get_POS for position. And you need these brackets right here. So pygame.mouse.getPosition, that's going to get the position of the mouse on the Pygame window and send it somewhere. Now we need somewhere to send it. And there's two ways we can do this. The first way is we can say mouse X, mouse Y. Okay, so because our position of our cursor or of the mouse is a coordinate, so x comma y. So for example, remember this is 0, 0, and this is 800, 600. So as we go across, the x value is changing, the y value is staying the same. Now the y value is increasing, the x value is staying the same. They're both changing. And it depends on where we are in the window. We're going to get different values for our x and our y. So every position is going to have an x attached to it and a y attached to it. It's going to have both sets of coordinates. So that's what we've got right here. We've got mouse x comma mouse y. The x coordinate and the y coordinate of where the mouse, I'm going to just keep saying mouse, I really mean cursor, but where the mouse is. Now down here in the drawing, what I can actually do is I can just say print mouse x comma mouse y, and what's going to happen then is you can see in the background it's printing where they are to the screen. So we've got this mouse x, mouse y. Now a different way that we can get our position, or maybe a different way that we can store the values, we can just say mouse position. So the mouse position is equal to the pygame.mouse.getPosition. So that's what mouse position is. And if I just change this down here to mouse position, then when I run it, you can see it's printing in the background. It's got these nice brackets and everything, right? And that's because mouse position is what's called a tuple. It's a variable that's holding more than just one number. Okay, so mouse position is actually an entire set of coordinates. And what we can do then is, let's say we only want to get the x part and do something with that at any moment, or maybe just the y part. We can say mouse x is equal to mouse position, and then we would say 0. And then we could say mouse y is equal to mouse position 1. So what this means is the first thing in our variable called mouse position, remember, I'll just type it right here for a second. Let's say my mouse was at 30, 50. Okay, so 30, 50, that's where I was currently holding my cursor on the Pygame window. What this says is the variable mouse x is equal to the mouse's position, the first element in that tuple. So in other words, mouse x would take on the value of 30. And mouse y takes on the value of the second thing in the variable called mouse position. And mouse position, it's the second thing in there is a 50. So mouse y would be 50. So we can have all of these and they can work together. So if I want the entire coordinates of where my mouse is at any given time, I would be using mouse position like this. If I just want to know the x, now mouse x is holding just the x part of the coordinate, and mouse y is just holding the y part of the coordinate. Now it seems kind of dumb that we're printing it to the window in the background. Let's instead be putting it right onto our Pygame window, because that would be a lot nicer, right? Now in order to do that, we're going to need a font. So I'm going to call my font text. Text equals pygame.font.font, and I'm just going to use the default font, and let's say it's size 25. And now because I'm going to be constantly changing the location of where my mouse is, I need to change the value of the text that I'm going to be printing to the screen, right? So I'll call it my mouse position text, for example, and I'm going to set that equal to text.render. And what do I want to render? I want to render just this mouse position for a moment. Mouse position, and true for it to be anti-aliased, and let's make the text black, I guess. Now there's a problem right here. This mouse position is not a string. It is actually a tuple. Remember, it's like with the brackets and the numbers and the comma. So I need to convert this into a string, just like this. str for string. So it's taking this tuple and converting it into string. And then now I just need to print it onto the screen. So that, remember, that's window.blit. And what do I want to blit onto the screen? I want to blit my mouse position text. Or you can just call it coordinates if you want, whatever you want to call it. And where do I want to put that? 0, 0 in the top left corner. So if I run this again, you can see it's nice and neat up in this top left corner. Wherever I'm putting my cursor, I'm getting the coordinates of where the cursor is. And that's a lot nicer and neater than just printing it to our Python shell. One last thing so I can show you an example of how you could possibly use these variables. Let's say if our cursor is on the left side of our window, then we want the background to be red. And if it's on the right side of the window, then I want the background to be, oh, what colors do we have? Yellow, let's say. So I'm going to put that under logic. It could fall under logic or drawing. So this has to do with the window. I'm going to get rid of that one for a second. So we're going to say if mouse x is greater than halfway, so in other words, if we're on the right-hand side of the screen, so greater, remember it's 800 by 600, so if it's greater than 400, that means we're on the right-hand side of the screen. Then what do we want to do? We're going to say window.fill, and what do we want to fill the window? We're going to fill it with yellow. And the only other thing is that it could be on the left-hand side. And so we're going to say else window.fill red. So now if I run it again, you can see I'm on the right-hand side of my window. It's yellow. And if I go over to the left-hand side, the background's now being filled in with red. Right-hand side, left-hand side. And you can see that the middle is roughly right here, right at 400. It switches over. 401, now we're yellow. Okay, so that concludes the first lesson.